Hello! Welcome to another edition of the FWP Art Department Making of. This episode, we've got a beautiful piece of forest wood found on the trail at Goats Peak Regional Park in the Okanagan. I'm going to combine it with these beautiful pieces of beach glass collected from the shore of Okanagan Lake in Kelowna, BC. Today I will be using some clear Gorilla Glue to combine the wood and glue together. Here we go. So I'm just applying the glue. Here we go. Blah, blah, glue, 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 glue. Lucky to find this piece. I knew exactly what it was, and it's appropriate that I found it on a mountain trail because I immediately saw a bear's paw. And that's quite significant to me. We're just waiting here for the glue to get tacky. And now that the glue's tacky, we're going to go ahead and, as you can see with the tacky glue, the claws kind of stay in place. Now they might travel a little bit and float a little bit as the glue hardens. It takes about 24 hours to fully cure. So I've just allowed it to tack enough so that it'll hold into place. And now I'm just kind of adjusting the claws into the proper position that I want. So this is kind of what art is. A lot of it is just tinkering and figuring out, and I'm quite often learning as I go because I'm using things that I don't know anything about. So now what I'm doing is I'm just putting a good gob of glue around the edge between the wood and the glass to help it hold together and be stronger over time. Now it'll take a while. Like I say, it takes about 24 hours to cure, so I'll let it sit. And as it was sitting, some of the claws started to float or fall off, so I went and got some clamps and clamped the claws into place. Now here we're painting. Now you can see what I'm doing here is I'm painting the toes of the bear's paw. Unfortunately, because I do all of this alone, it's quite difficult to do the art, the camera, and the directing at the same time. So I'm looking at the art here and I don't realize that you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just painting those little ovals that will look like the bear's paw. And now I'm starting to outline the heel of the bear's paw itself, which I'll just fill in with brown. I think it's acrylic paint that I'm using, which kind of forms like this plastic coating on top of the wood, which will help to seal this piece of wood as well. And I'm putting on a generous coat because there's not a significant difference between the brown and the wood itself. It will lighten up a bit, and that is exactly what I was looking for with this piece. I wanted the bear's paw to be somewhat subtle because the natural shape of the wood already had that bear's paw, and I just wanted to bring it out. And we'll see you in the next scene. Alright, so we painted the other side, which is the bear's paw. As you can see, like I say, you've got the 5 toes and the heel of the bear's paw. And now the glass shards become the claws of that bear's paw. But on the other side was a definitive face. Now, I love pieces like this where you turn it around and it's naturally already 2 different things. I didn't need to carve it, I didn't need to shape it, I just needed to paint it. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting some black in the bottom of these pits so that it'll look like an indefinite hole. And now around the edge of the wooden pit, I'm putting in red so that it'll look like the fire is growing out of a dark black pit. And then I'm going to use some variations of red and just painting around the outside. Once again, such a beautiful piece. You can see the texture of this wood just completely lends itself to what I want to do with it, and that is to make fire. And so now I'm going to take and just circling around the red with a little bit of a lighter red, so it looks like it's going from the dark black to a darker red and then a lighter red. And this will just give the effect of, like I say, the fire growing out of those holes that again were naturally in this piece of wood. I didn't do anything to it at all. All I did was sweep it off and clean it. There was no carving, there was no shaping. I didn't pull any material off of it. I pulled it right off of the forest floor the way it was, brought it home, and it took me a couple of years to work this piece, even though I immediately saw both sides of it. I was inspired by the bear's paw first, and then the fire side, this face, reminds me of a logo, and I couldn't quite place it, and I'm still not exactly sure which logo it reminds me of, but you might see it, you might be reminded of that logo. But in 2026, it was the year of the fire horse, and that's what inspired me to finish this piece, is I could see the spirit or the heart of the fire horse in this flaming face. And now the glass claws that serve for the bear's paw on this side serve as the tips of the fire. So I filled in the yellow, making it look like it's all one big piece of fire, and now I'm putting in some jagged edged orange to move the red into the yellow, looking like it's fire cooling off as it comes from its red hot center. Hello again. So there you go. I've got it all painted up, and now I'm just putting some painter's tape on the claws themselves. I'm going to be using Flex Seal to seal the paint and the wood to give it a good long-term finish. And I don't want that Flex Seal on the glass. The glass already has a beautiful transparent finish that I don't want to alter with the Flex Seal. So I'm just putting some tape on it. And when you use the Flex Seal, it does kind of bond to the masking tape. So it is a little bit difficult to pull off after the Flex Seal dries, but it does the job, and it will keep the glass clean as I spray a coating on the fire heart face and of course the bear's paw. So it's kind of a very simple piece. There's not a lot to it. Two-sided. Well, got to be careful when you're working without gloves. You'll get things stuck to your thumb. That's okay. I'll be all right. So here we are, moving on to the final portion of the project, and that is to spray it with the Flex Seal. This is kind of a rubberized coating, and I was a little bit impatient here. It is a thick enough sealant that you can do it with one coat, but if you do it with two coats and two thinner coats, you can get the same coverage, and it avoids some of the air bubbles that can form, and you'll see that up here in the finished product. But I'm pretty happy with it. It did really well, and I can always put another coating of Flex Seal on at any time if I want. Hello! I'll turn it over to the artist here.
There is this misconception about art that it is easy. And yeah, I mean, it can be easy, but to get really good results takes time and effort, just like anything else in life. It takes time and patience. You have to have an understanding of materials, and you have to put in effort. Now, as you can see, I have a little bit of an error on my piece. So this happens with the Flex Seal that I use to seal the wood, the piece of driftwood in the paint. If you spray too fast and too heavy, you get little air bubbles, which influences the transparency of my protective coating. But that's a part of the learning process. A good artist didn't sit down and make good art the first time they tried to make art. And if they did, they're incredibly talented and then spent the rest of their life developing that talent. I'm on the other end of the scale. I have a crude hand. I have a brutal artistic sensibility. Good enough. See, I believe that my raw creativity and the raw materials that I use deserve a raw outcome. And yeah, the bane of an artist is perfectionism. I want it to be perfect. I want it to look even better than it looked in my head, but it never looks as good as it does in my head. So I have to learn to accept that what I do is good enough. It's just art. But in no means is it easy. It takes effort. It takes practice. It takes understanding. And sometimes you have to be a little gentle so you don't break things. Ooh. See?
Thank you for joining me for the FWP Art Department making of The Bear's Paw and The Fiery Heart. Tune in next time when who knows what.
And there it is, the final piece. So, despite a couple of errors, you see how my crude hand and my lack of perfectionism actually works for me with the raw materials that I use. Now this side, this is the bear paw. The bear's paw represents my spirit guide, which is the great bear spirit, one of my spirit guides. On the opposite side, this is representative of the fire horse, the year of the fire horse in Chinese astrology. This is the symbol of the fire in my heart, which of course is the heart of a bear. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoy my bear's paw fiery heart sculpture made of driftwood and broken beach glass. Have a good day. We'll see you in that ring.